When someone asks you to name an animal, what do you immediately think of? Many people would say something like a lion, a macaw, or maybe even an insect. But what about sponges, corals, and anemones? We don't immediately see these creatures and think animal, but scientifically they are. So, what makes an animal? And how are animals different from other organisms, such as plants and fungi? The term animal comes from the Latin word of the same meaning, but this word is derived from the Latin animalis, which means having breath of soul. This suggests that early writers believed an animal to be any organism that has a soul. However, this isn't a very scientific way of looking at classifying organisms, as well as it being rather difficult to decipher which organisms have a soul and which don't. If we were to make it easy on ourselves, we could just say that animals are just any members of the kingdom Animalia. But this only works if we are not truly thinking about why these creatures are placed in the animal kingdom, as classification is a human construct, and organisms don't exactly play ball when it comes to fitting neatly into man-made groups. Animals typically have specialised sensory organs and nervous systems that make them capable of rapidly responding to stimuli, and with a few exceptions, animals consume organic matter as they're not able to produce their own food, breathe oxygen, have myocytes that allow movement, reproduce sexually, and grow from a hollow sphere of cells known as a blastula during embryonic development. Currently, over 1.5 million living species have been described, but it is estimated that there could be over 7 million more waiting to be discovered. The largest of these species is the blue whale, which is also the largest animal to have ever lived. Blue whales can weigh up to 190 tonnes and measure 33.6 metres long. That's just over the length of 3 buses. However, animals don't just have to be big, as several are microscopic, such as the Myxozoa, with the smallest species growing no more than 8.5 micrometers when fully grown. These species are separated into several phylum: the arthropods, the mollusks, the chordates, the platyhelminths, the nematodes, the annelids, the cnidarians, the porifera, the echinoderms, the bryozoans, the rotifers, the nemertae, and the tardigrades. The largest group is the arthropods, a phylum containing over 1 million species, including lobsters, spiders, insects, and millipedes. This extensive and varied group make up 84% of all described species, but despite their diversity, all arthropods share a common feature. This feature is a jointed exoskeleton made of chitin, which is secreted by the underlying epidermis. Most members of the phylum are small, but those that do grow to substantial sizes are always aquatic, as they can only grow to such sizes as their bodies are partly supported by the surrounding water. For example, the giant water scorpions, an extinct group from the Silurian period, could reach lengths of 1.8 metres, whilst modern spider crabs may span more than 3.8 metres. However, the largest terrestrial arthropods stay well under a metre, with the longest terrestrial arthropod being a species of walking stick from China, which can grow up to 64 centimetres. However, despite being first discovered in 2014, this species remains undescribed. The next group are the mollusks, a phylum which contains between 85,000 and 107,000 species. All members are soft-bodied, but are either wholly or partially enclosed within a carbonate shell. Members include animals such as the oysters, nautili, octopi, nudibranchs, and snails. Then there's the chordates, with over 70,000 species. A phylum that includes not only the vertebrates, which contains some of our most recognisable species such as mammals, birds, and amphibians, but also the tunicates and the cephalochordates. The tunicates are a group of animals including the sea squirts, and can be found in seas worldwide. The cephalochordates, or lancelets, are a group of animals which are estimated to have been on Earth for at least 530 million years. They have also been identified as potentially the closest relatives to the vertebrates. The next few groups are all various forms of worms. The first, the platyhelminths or flatworms, contain around 30,000 species of either free-living or parasitic invertebrates, and as their name suggests, their bodies are flattened. The next, the nematodes, also known as the roundworms, are a phylum of around 25,000 species. Then there's the annelids, or the segmented worms. Annelida are a phylum of around 17,000 species that contain familiar worm species such as earthworms and leeches. And finally, Nemertae are a phylum of 1,350 species, also known as the ribbon or proboscis worms. Most of these worms only measure a few millimetres wide and can be found in marine, benthic or littoral environments worldwide, as well as a few being terrestrial, ectoparasitic, and around 20 species being found in fresh water. The next phylum is the cnidarians, a group of around 16,000 species containing the jellyfish, sea anemones and corals. Members have cnidocytes, a large secretory organelle that can deliver a sting to other organisms to capture prey and to defend against predators. Next are the sponges, or porifera, which contains around 10,800 species. These strange animals are bound to the seabed and are sessile filter feeders. They lack complex nervous, digestive and circulatory systems, fully relying on constant water flow through their bodies to obtain food and oxygen, and to remove waste. The echinoderms are a phylum of around 7,500 species, including starfish, brittle stars, sea urchins, sand dollars and sea cucumbers. Members usually exhibit radial symmetry, and can be found on seabeds at every ocean depth. Unlike some phyla, the echinoderms have a rich fossil record, and the earliest fossils can be dated to around 542 million years ago. Bryozoa, also known as the moss animals, are a phylum of 6,000 species. The moss animals form colonies, which can sometimes exceed half a metre in diameter. Until the mid-18th century, the group was considered to be plants, but were then grouped among the cnidarians. Then, around 75 years later, they were separated into their own phylum. Rotifera are a phylum of 2,000 aquatic species, sometimes known as the wheel animals. The rotifers are either microscopic or near microscopic and were first described in 1696. Tardigrada are a phylum of 1,335 species. They are known colloquially as the water bears or moss piglets, and were first described in 1773 by German zoologist Johann August Ephraim Goes. And that's all for today. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to know when the next episode in this series comes out, where we will be looking at how animals are classified.